If you're waiting for the Toronto housing market to completely crash, May's data just threw a massive wrench in that plan. While prices are down slightly, inventory of properties for sale just did something nobody saw coming. Buyers actually stepped up the pace, pushing the total sales up over 6% compared to last year of May. But here's the real kicker. Sellers are holding back. New listings plummeted by nearly 19%. You might be thinking, if supply of properties for sale went down and sales went up, shouldn't prices go up and not down? We're looking at a completely different landscape than we were 12 months ago. The story changes completely depending on what and where you're looking to buy. Detached homes and downtown condos are moving in two opposite directions right now. In this video, I will break down the exact numbers you need to know if you're planning to sell your home or contemplating buying a property this summer. We'll start with the overall market. So a reminder before we get into the data that the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board data covers a very wide region, and to be exact, 7 regions in total. And in the focus in this video is the city of Toronto only, looking at detached houses, semi-detached, as well as the condo market. So we'll start with the overall market. So if you take a look at there, sales went up by 6.3% in May of 2026 compared to May 2025 to just over 6,500. Now, sales went up, which is good, but I'll give you the context because although it sounds good on paper, 6% increase, we have to take a look at the broader picture here. With respect to new supply of properties coming onto the market, that dropped by approximately 19%. So sellers, whether they're home sellers, investment property sellers, condo sellers, they've held back in the month of May. They're not listing their properties. And it could be for the simple reason is understanding that the market conditions will not give them the number they're looking for. So they've decided to hold back on not putting that property up on the market. Same with the active listings, that dropped by 13.3%. And you can see below the average price in the whole region, and again, I don't put too much weight into it, dropped by 4.6%. And the reason is it takes the 7 regions into account, which is very diverse, different, and again, real estate is extremely local. The listing days on market went up from 25 to 27 days, and then the property days on market, which takes into account all the cancellations and relistings, went up from 39 to 42 days. So you can see it's still taking longer to sell a property in this market, and that's reflected in the lower price of average properties sold. Now, this is what I want to give you the high-level perspective. Although sales in month of May were 6,583, they are 23% below the 10-year average of 8,501 for the month of May the past 10 years. So this is important to keep in mind because that is actually the third lowest year in those 10 years. Now, I do not count May 2020. The reason, obviously, if you recall, pretty much the whole world was shut down. So if you take that out, this is actually the second worst sales over the last 10 years in the Toronto region. 2025 was the lowest sales in over 25 years, and this year it has improved, but however, it is still 23% below the 10-year average. So again, it's good to keep in mind when the data comes out, not just that specific month figures, but the overall picture and how does that compare from a trend over the last 10 years or so. Now, again, this is the broader market. So if we take a look at the sales, we'll take a look at the 416 only. Detached sales were up 8.9%. Semi-detached was up 2.5%. And then the condo market was up 4.2%. And this is all compared to May of 2025. Having said that, the average prices went down. So you can see in the city of Toronto, detached down 6.5. The semis, we'll call that pretty much flat, negative 0.6. And then condos were down 5% compared to May of 2025. Now, I will get into the details of the condo market because there are three markets. It's not just the MLS, what you see for sale on the MLS. There are actually two more markets that are driving and impacting the overall condo market in the city of Toronto. Now, if we get into the detached properties, the months of inventory is 3.27. So that's tipping towards the seller's favor because between 4 and 6 months of inventory is considered balanced. Under that goes into seller's territory. Over 6 months is, buyers have the advantage. So 31 out of 100 homes sold, that's on the detached in the city of Toronto. The average price is 1.6 with a median of 1.3. And you can see there the sales went up by 8.9%. With respect to semi-detached, the inventory is much lower. There are less product to choose from overall in the city of Toronto. 1.84 months of inventory, 54 out of 100 homes sold in the month of May. The average price is 1,293 with a median of 119. And again, sales went up by 2.5%. This is the transition from the condo market to the detached property is the semi-detached. No condo fees. You get ground level housing. And in some cases, you'll get a parking, front driveway parking, and hopefully a decent backyard for the young families and the kids to play back there. Now, with respect to the condo market, the inventory is 5.44. So although it shows as balanced because it's between the 4 and 6 months, it's actually still in the buyer's favor, and I'll explain why in a second. The average price is 673 with a median of 565, and sales went up 4.2%. With respect to the three markets, so there's the condos for sale on the MLS. This is where the individual owners are selling their properties. There is the builder supply of condos. And again, those sales have increased in the last month. We've yet to see the figures. But because of the HST rebate or waiver of the up to $130,000, builders that have finished unsold units are selling those properties because of the HST incentive. So that's another market that is competing with the resale market. And the third market is the assignment market. So this is the pre-construction buyers who bought condos, years ago, and now are coming close to completion and taking possession and ownership of, title of the property, cannot close. They are trying to assign their properties before they close. So those are the three different markets. Now, keep in mind the HST rebate or waiver, whatever you want to call it, has negatively impacted the assignments market because the builders can offer the 130,000 HST rebates. This is not applicable in the assignment market. So that's going to put further downward pressure on those owners who are trying to assign the contract before it closes. So there's a lot of supply because you have whatever's on MLS, you have builder developers sitting on inventory that they're trying to move with the latest government incentives, and you have the assignment market. So there's a lot of supply, a lot of options. And again, buyers have the upper hand in negotiation when it comes to the condo market. Now, what I want to show you is further, deeper into the condo market. So this figure here was the city of Toronto. So this covers the downtown core, the Yonge corridor at Yonge and Eglinton, all the way up to Yonge and Finch, to the borders of Yonge and Steele. So it covers pretty wide region. What I want to show you is specifically the core. So C1 and C8. So C1 is Yonge to Dufferin, Bloor to the lake. C8 is Yonge, DVP, Bloor to the lake. So east and west of Yonge. And the condo market there, if you take a look, the sales there are more condos west of Yonge. So you can see the sales are higher, 253 versus 131. the active listings, there were 1,186 condos for sale at the end of May, versus 793 east of Yonge. The average price is higher on west of Yonge at 737, 631 east of Yonge. So it's more affordable. Yes, there are less options, but the price of entry into downtown living is more affordable compared to the west of Yonge Street. Now, sales to listing price, I don't put much weight into it because although it says 97%, which sounds good on paper, that is the last listing and what is sold compared to. So if the condo was listed, and again, for example, at 800, it got terminated, listed for 750, it got terminated, listed at 730, and then eventually sold it, for example, at 700, that sales to listing ratio is reflecting the last list price and what is sold compared to that. So it does not reflect the overall journey of selling that specific property. So keep that in mind when you look at these figures when it says it's sold 3% below ask. The days of market on west of Yonge are 33 days versus 30 days. So pretty much you're looking at a month for these condos to sell. And again, that is the last listing, active listings, when it's sold. So again, it could be that property could have been listed multiple times prior to that and taking a few months to get it to the to being sold. Now, what do you do if you are a buyer or a seller in today's marketplace? So if you are a seller and if you're selling a detached or a semi-detached, the market is gradually shifting towards your advantage, if you want to call it, depending on the location and how well the house shows. You could be in for multiple offers, competition from buyers for your specific detached or semi-detached property. On the flip side, if you're a buyer getting into the ground level housing, freehold housing, the inventory is shrinking. There's less supply, as you saw in the numbers earlier, a little bit less choice depending on the neighborhood. So if you financially qualify, if you have stable employment, secure employment, and you've been sitting on the sidelines, take advantage if your financial and employment situation allows for it to buy your long-term home and think about living in that specific property for at least 7 years and nothing less. On the flip side, with respect to the condo market, if you're a seller, there's, you got to be 1 or 2 steps ahead of the market. So if, take a look at where the condos have sold in the last 30 days, what got terminated, and be ahead of the trend. So you're going to have to adjust your price to meet where buyers will be in about 30 to 45 days from now. If you are a buyer and looking to get into the condo market, you've got lots of options. Negotiate hard, get your number, put in your conditions. The one thing I would highly recommend if you're buying a condo is to buy a condo with a good floor plan layout, because that will make a difference down the line in the future whenever you decide to sell that specific condo. Layouts make a massive difference. If you want to discuss your personal situation, please feel free to reach out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.